Apostolic succession. The authority of apostolic succession begins with Christ himself. The Lord entrusted his authority to the apostles, not in an individualistic manner, but as a body. He said to Peter, I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Matthew 16:19. But he also spoke in the plural to all the apostles. Truly, I say to you, whatever you plural bind on earth shall be bound in heaven, and whatever you plural loose on earth shall be loosed in heaven. Matthew 18:18. And after his resurrection he said to them as a group, receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, they are forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they are retained. John 20, verse 22 to 23. This authority makes sense only within the sacramental life of the church. It presupposes a priesthood empowered to hear confessions, absolve sins, and preserve unity through the laying on of hands. To argue, as some Protestants do, that this authority belongs equally to every individual Christian would mean that every believer has the power to forgive or retain sins, a view foreign both to Scripture's plain sense and to the consistent testimony of the Fathers. As Father John Whiteford has pointed out, the idea of a priesthood of all believers has parallels in the Old Testament. Israel was indeed called a kingdom of priests, Exodus 19 verse 6, yet it still had a distinct Levitical priesthood. When Korah and his followers rose up against Moses and Aaron, insisting that all the congregation is holy, Numbers 16 verse 3, an argument strikingly similar to that of Protestants who reject the distinct priesthood and sacramental life of the church, they were swiftly judged and destroyed by God. Likewise, in the New Testament, while all Christians are a royal priesthood, 1 Peter 2 verse 9, there remains a distinct sacramental priesthood, set apart through ordination by the laying on of hands. The Fathers confirmed this understanding from the earliest times. St. Clement of Rome, late 1st century, writing during the lifetime of those who had known the apostles, our apostles appointed the first fruits of their labors, having proved them by the Spirit, to be bishops and deacons, and afterwards gave instructions that when these should fall asleep, other approved men should succeed them. 1 Clement 42:44. Saint Irenaeus of Lyons, c. 130-202, disciple of Saint Polycarp, himself disciple of John the Apostle. It is within the power of all to contemplate clearly the tradition of the apostles manifested throughout the whole world, and we are in a position to reckon up those who were by the apostles instituted bishops in the churches, and to demonstrate the succession of these men to our own times. Against heresies 3.3.1. Tertullian, c. 155-240, even before falling into Montanism, bore witness. Let them produce the original records of their churches. Let them unfold the roll of their bishops, running down in due succession from the beginning, in such a manner that that first bishop of theirs shall be able to show for his ordainer and predecessor some one of the apostles or of apostolic men. Prescription against heretics 32. The Scriptures themselves attest that this succession was not merely administrative, but sacramental. When they had prayed, they laid their hands on them. Acts 6:6. They laid their hands on them, and they received the Holy Spirit. Acts 8, verse 17. Do not neglect the gift you have, which was given you by prophecy when the council of elders laid their hands on you. 1 Timothy 4, verse 14. This laying on of hands, hierotonia, continues unbroken in the Orthodox Church to this day, ensuring both historical continuity and the living transmission of the Holy Spirit. Even more explicitly, Saint Hippolytus of Rome, early 3rd century, records the ordination prayer for a bishop in his apostolic tradition. Grant to this your servant, whom you have chosen for the episcopate, to shepherd your holy flock, to forgive sins according to your command, to loose every bond according to the power which you gave to your apostles. Apostolic Tradition 3.4. Here, ordination is shown as the sacramental act by which the apostolic grace and authority of Christ himself is transmitted. The Fathers also testify that this authority was given not to Peter alone, but to all the apostles, and through them to the bishops of the church. Saint Bede the Venerable, 673-735. Although it may seem that this power of loosing and binding was given by the Lord only to Peter, We must nevertheless know without any doubt that it was given to the other apostles. Indeed, even now the same office is committed to the whole church in her bishops and priests. Homilies on the Gospels, 120. St. Gregory the Great, Pope of Rome, 590 to 604, revered by both East and West, rejected any claim to papal supremacy. Whoever calls himself the universal bishop or desires this title is by his pride the precursor of Antichrist, because he thus attempts to raise himself above the others. Epistles v. 18. Elsewhere, he affirms that the see of Peter is shared among Rome, Alexandria, and Antioch. Though there are many apostles, yet with regard to the principality itself, the see of the prince of the apostles alone has grown strong in authority, which in 3 places is the see of one. For it is the see of one, over which by divine authority 3 bishops now preside. Epistle to Eulogius of Alexandria. Other fathers echo the same truth. Saint Cyprian of Carthage. Certainly the other apostles also were what Peter was, endued with an equal fellowship both of honor and power. On the Unity of the Church 3. Origen. What is said surely belongs to each and all of them, since all are Peter and the rock. Commentary on Matthew 11:10. St. Augustine. Christ built his church not on a man, but on Peter's confession. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God. Sermon 29. St. Jerome. Although elsewhere the same authority is attributed to all the apostles, and they all receive the keys of the kingdom of heaven. One among the 12 is chosen so that when a head has been appointed, there may be no occasion for schism. Against Jovinianus, Porn 26. Saint Isidore of Seville. Still, the other apostles have been made equal with Peter in a fellowship of dignity and power. Having descended from these apostles, the bishops have succeeded them. Thus, from Christ's own words, through the earliest fathers and even popes of Rome, the witness is consistent. Apostolic succession is both historical and sacramental. The authority of the keys was given to all the apostles, and through them to the bishops. The early church knew nothing of papal supremacy, but rather of the unity of bishops as successors of the apostles. Apostolic succession, then, is the visible lineage from the apostles and the spiritual continuity of divine grace, the very guarantee of the church's faithfulness and sacramental life across all ages.